Webcam reviews are very different than when I first started this channel. Mostly because you can get a really high quality webcam for under $100 now. If you're going to release a new webcam in 2025, like Elgato just did with the Facecam 4K, you're gonna have to do something new. You're gonna have to prove that your webcam is worth existing. Elgato did two new things with the Facecam 4K, other than just looking kind of weird. So this shot you're looking at right now that I'll be using for the whole video is shot on the Elgato Facecam 4K. And let's just jump into what this webcam is right from the get-go so you know what you're looking at. This is a 4K 60 webcam priced at $200. That makes this the second 4K 60 webcam on the market, only behind Elgato's original Facecam Pro that released almost 3 years ago for $300. So Elgato kind of owns the 4K 60 webcam space here, and this webcam being a third of the price cheaper than the previous one could mean that 4K 60 starts to become the webcam standard moving forward. But how important is 4K 60 in a webcam? Well, there are three main situations where it matters. Number one, 4K 60 streaming is becoming more of a standard here. Twitch is rolling it out right now. YouTube has had it. And especially if you're multi-streaming to both, a lot of people are watching live streams on their TV now, especially on YouTube. And so if you ever stream with your camera full screen, you're not going to get any kind of degradation in quality. 4K also gives you the flexibility to punch in on a meme or recrop yourself for a different angle without having to turn yourself into a giant block of pixels. And being able to do that without sacrificing 60 frames per second is really helpful. And reason number three, if you're using something like the vertical plugin in OBS in order to crop into vertical for short form content, that cropped shot is still high definition. It's still more than 1080p if you're using a 4K camera, versus if you're using a HD camera, you're going down to about 480p, maybe 540p. If none of that really matters to you, then it's all whatever. So let's talk about the big new thing here, that big mount on the front that allows you to put on filters in front of your camera. I have these three filters that I want to show you. And if you're primarily a streamer, you've probably never used something like this before, and this might be a little bit foreign. So let's put them on here. I want to show you what they do. That way you can understand why I rarely get any footage without putting a filter on my lens. Let's start with the first one and my personal favorite. This one's called a black mist filter. I have one for my camera lenses. I use it in a lot of my shots, and it's especially cool for any streamers that are using any kind of RGB lights behind them. The filter itself doesn't do too much to a normal object like a person or a face, but as you can see from the lights next to me and the lights in the PC, it adds a haze. It's almost like there's smoke in the room. It softens the light, it expands the light, it gives this really cool blur and haze effect. It's a subtle effect if you're using a big camera that already has a background blur, but on a webcam, it's especially cool because you have a hard time getting that depth of field, that background blur, and this is kind of another way of getting the subject to pop off a background. I'm gonna show you what this next filter looks like while telling you about the sponsor of today's video. Other than a new webcam or a filter, a great way to make your live stream look more professional is by using graphics or widgets. And that's where today's sponsor, Own.pro, really comes in clutch. They're your one-stop shop for all your stream widget needs. They've been going hard at making a bunch of really cool, really minimal and clean widgets for your streams. I use 4 of them in my live stream right now. I use a chat overlay to show chat on stream. I have a now playing widget to show what stream beats track you're listening to. I use their hypometer, which is really cool. I actually worked on it with them. It's like a subtrain widget, but you can use multiple events like subs and bits to trigger it, or even multiple platforms like YouTube members and Twitch subs will both work at the same time. And then I also use the rotating label widget, which shows you things like the most recent subscriber, the most recent donator, and really whatever you want because you have complete control over it. So use the link in the description below, go check out Own.pro, add some widgets to your stream and spice things up a little bit. Let's get back to this filter here. This one is more of a stylized filter. It's called a retro soft filter. It adjusts the colors a little bit, adjusts the softness a little bit to kind of give it that retro camera look. A lot of people will add an effect like this in software, but if you can use a hardware filter instead, it's always going to give you a little bit of a higher quality finish without crushing any of the bits or the information coming out of the webcam itself. There are a lot of aesthetic filters like this out here, and a lot of them are pretty cheap, so it's kind of fun to go down some rabbit holes and explore with your look a little bit. This last one is probably the most important one. It's called a polarizer. But what a polarizer does is it removes reflected light, like light that may be bounced off of glasses, for example. That's because when light bounces off a surface, often it polarizes the light. And so use something like a CPL or a polarizer here, and it filters out polarized light. So you can see this effect. These are my wife's glasses. I'm sure she's fine. I'm gonna angle them to reflect the light here, and then I'm gonna turn this polarizer until the reflection is gone. Did you see that? Let's bring it back. reflected light, polarized, reflected light, polarized. The reflected light's not completely gone, but it is a lot better. And if you want to go even harder, you can actually purchase these filters that'll go in front of your lights that'll polarize the light even harder, making it easier to filter out. I'll put a link to that light filter in the description. I'll also put a link to all these filters in the description. Now, one of the coolest things here is none of these filters are Elgato branded. In fact, you can pick up any filter. You just need to make sure that they're a 49mm diameter filter. I'm going to put that on the screen here. And Elgato is even going to include a polarizer with your camera. Well, when you buy this camera, at checkout, you can choose to either have a lens cap or a polarizer, which is pretty cool because this polarizer that's on there right now is 30 bucks. But how does this webcam compare to other webcams on the market? I'm sure some of you noticed from this side shot here that there is an Insta360 Link 2C sitting on top of it, ready for a side-by-side comparison. I'll say what I said before. Almost any webcam you buy today looks incredible. 5 years ago, I would have never even considered shooting a whole video on a webcam, but here we are now, and I have very little to complain about. This what you're looking at right now is the Insta360 Link 2C. It's $150, it's 4K 30. They both look very good, but there are some differences. The first thing you might notice is that the Elgato Facecam 4K is wider, which personally I prefer. I'd rather punch in than punch out. But if you're looking for a shot that's more tight on your face, you don't want to have to digitally zoom in, maybe this one is the one you're looking for. You'll notice some things like the colors are going to be slightly different between the two. I did adjust both cameras quite a bit, trying to get them to both look their best. And I do think the 2C has sharpening added in the Insta360 software that I didn't take off. So that might be why you see a little bit more detail on my face on the Insta360 here. But one of the ways that Elgato was able to bring 4K 60 down from $300 to $200 is by removing autofocus, similar to what they did with their 1080p webcams. I don't hate this decision at all. In fact, I think for most people, it's actually better because even high-end webcams with good autofocus software, they will occasionally lose focus on the face they're tracking, and they'll have to do that focus hunting little wow thing that they do. And so with a camera like this, where you're in focus, Elgato says anywhere between 1 foot and 4 feet, which I think looks pretty accurate to me. You know you're going to be in focus the whole time. You're not going to get any of that focus hunting. And it cuts the cost of the webcam down a lot. If we compare this one to the $300 Facecam Pro, there are two main differences I noticed between the two, other than just slight difference in color, which you'll notice jumping back and forth. But I felt like the Facecam 4K had a much more natural look. It was much more tuned right out of the box. Every time I've used the Facecam Pro, I felt like I had to spend quite a bit more time getting it to look the way I want. But if I spent that time, I could get it to look better. So it almost feels like the Facecam Pro is for pros. There is considerably more information coming from this camera. I mean, just look at the dark area behind me on the Facecam Pro versus the Facecam 4K. We've got almost nothing back there. Back to the Facecam Pro, you can see the entire wall. But that's gonna about do it for the Facecam 4K. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on the side-by-side? Which camera did you like the most looking at it? What do you think about the filters? I think this is a good example of Elgato doing what Elgato does best. If you take this webcam and you combine it with Elgato Camera Hub, you have simple controls. You can add things like LUTs to change the color of your camera. And on the camera, you're getting 4K 60 and filters. You're getting an incredibly unique webcam experience that you can't get from other ones. I'm looking forward to seeing what filters you guys gravitate towards the most. I know I'm gonna throw the black mist filter on mine, probably pretty heavily. I've got two of them combined here for extra mist. I think it looks cool. Anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed the video. Like the video if you haven't already. Subscribe if you're not subscribed, you wanna see more. Leave a comment down if you don't have any thoughts. Just put your favorite emoji for engagement. And as always, happy streaming.